The alarm goes off at exactly 6:30 a.m. It is a soft, gentle sound. Not the loud, jarring beep that Alex used to set years ago, which used to make his heart pound the moment he opened his eyes. Now he prefers a slow, gradual tone that eases him out of sleep, rather than pulling him out of it violently. He lies still for 30 seconds. He can feel the weight of the blanket on his legs, the coolness of the pillow beneath his cheek, and the faint sounds of the city beginning to stir outside his window, a distant car engine, the call of a bird on the rooftop, the low hum of a delivery truck on the street below. This 30-second pause is intentional. Alex read in a book about habits that the first moments of the day shape your mood for hours to come. So instead of grabbing his phone immediately, something he used to do and something he now regrets ever starting, he simply breathes. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 3 times. Then he sits up, pushes the blanket aside, and places his feet flat on the cool wooden floor. He rolls his shoulders, stretches his arms above his head until his spine cracks satisfyingly, and stands up. The room is still dim, the curtains blocking most of the early morning light. He pulls them open. Gray sky. Probably rain later, he does not mind. The bathroom is small but efficient. Alex moves through his morning routine like a well-rehearsed performance. He has done it so many times that each step happens almost automatically. He splashes cold water on his face 3 handfuls and lets out a quiet gasp each time. The cold water shocks him fully awake in a way that no amount of willpower ever could. He brushes his teeth for exactly 2 minutes. He knows it is 2 minutes because he plays a short piano piece on his phone while brushing, a habit he started when a dentist told him that most people brush for less than 45 seconds, which is insufficient. After brushing, he flosses, rinses with mouthwash, and splashes cold water one more time for good measure. Back in the bedroom, he gets dressed quickly. He has a simple system. 5 work outfits, each hanging in order, one for each day of the week. He never has to think about what to wear. He read once that decision fatigue is a real problem, that every small choice you make in the morning uses up a little mental energy, so he eliminates as many choices as possible before the important ones arrive. In the kitchen, he makes breakfast with care. He believes strongly that food is fuel, not just pleasure, though he sees no reason why it cannot be both. This morning, 2 scrambled eggs with a pinch of turmeric and black pepper, 2 slices of whole grain toast, half an avocado drizzled with olive oil and a squeeze of lemon, and a large glass of water. While the eggs cook, he prepares a flask of green tea to take on the subway. He eats slowly, sitting at the table, looking out the window, watching the street below begin to fill with people. Alex leaves the apartment at 7:50 a.m. He checks the weather one more time. The app shows a 70% chance of rain in the afternoon and tucks his compact umbrella into his bag. He locks the door, jogs lightly down 2 flights of stairs, and steps out onto the pavement. The morning air is cool and smells of bread from the bakery 2 doors down. He passes the same shops every day. The florist arranging buckets of yellow tulips on the pavement, the elderly man who always sits on the bench outside the pharmacy reading a newspaper, the children in school uniforms walking in clusters, half asleep. Alex finds these small recurring details comforting. They make the world feel stable. The subway platform is busy. Alex does not try to read or scroll on his phone here. The crowd makes it difficult. Instead, he puts his earphones in and presses play on his English podcast. Today the episode is about the history of English idioms where expressions like cost an arm and a leg or bite the bullet actually came from. He finds the etymology of everyday language fascinating. When the train arrives, he squeezes in and holds the overhead bar. The carriage is warm and smells faintly of coffee and damp coats. Around him, people read, scroll, sleep, or stare at nothing in particular. 22 minutes later, the doors open at his stop and he steps out into the brighter, busier light of the city center. The agency where Alex works occupies the 3rd floor of a converted warehouse. The ceilings are high, the windows are enormous, and the walls are painted white, except for one wall covered entirely in corkboard, pinned with mood boards, color swatches, printed photographs, and handwritten notes. Alex says good morning to the receptionist, fills his water bottle at the kitchen tap, and sits down at his desk. His first task every morning is to write a short list of 3 things he wants to accomplish by the end of the day. Not 10 things, not 20, just 3. He learned this from a productivity book and has found it surprisingly effective. When you try to do everything, you often achieve nothing. When you focus on 3 clear goals, you usually exceed them. Today, his 3 goals are: finish the branding proposal for a new cafe client, review the social media designs with his team, and send a revised invoice to a client who had asked for changes last week. He opens his laptop, puts on his headphones, and starts with the proposal, the most demanding task. He always does the hardest thing first, while his mind is still fresh and alert. By 10 a.m., he has built the first draft of the proposal. It is not perfect, it never is at this stage, but it exists, which is the most important thing. A blank page is the enemy. An imperfect draft is a starting point. He stands up, stretches, and goes to make his second cup of tea. Lunchtime is sacred to Alex. He does not eat at his desk, he does not check work messages, and he does not talk about projects. He is strict about this because he knows from experience that if you do not give your brain a real break, it starts making sloppy decisions in the afternoon. He usually goes out with Maria, a colleague who joined the team 6 months ago and has quickly become a close friend. They walk to a Lebanese restaurant 3 streets away, where the food is fresh, generous in portion, and reasonably priced. Alex orders a chicken shawarma wrap with a side of tabbouleh and a glass of cold sparkling water. Maria gets the falafel plate. They talk about everything except work. Today the conversation moves from weekend plans to a documentary Maria watched about deep-sea creatures to a debate about whether it is better to live in a big city or a small town. Alex argues for the city, the stimulation, the variety, the feeling that something is always happening. Maria says she misses the quiet of her hometown, the stars at night, the way everyone knows your name. Neither of them convinces the other, and that is fine. After lunch, Alex walks back slowly, taking a slightly longer route through a small park. He sits on a bench for 5 minutes, closes his eyes, and simply listens. Wind in the leaves, a child laughing. Pigeons. When he opens his eyes again, he feels ready. The afternoon can begin. The afternoon begins with the team review. 6 people gather around the large screen in the meeting room, and Alex walks them through the social media designs he has been working on for a clothing brand. He presents 3 different visual directions, one bold and graphic, one soft and minimalist, one warm and nostalgic. The team gives feedback. Most of it is useful. Some of it is contradictory. Alex writes everything down and smiles.
After the meeting, he returns to his desk and begins incorporating the feedback into the designs. This is often the most tedious part of the job, not the creative work, but the adjusting and fine-tuning, the moving of elements by 2 pixels, the changing of one shade of blue to another. But Alex finds a kind of meditative pleasure in it. The world outside is loud and uncertain. Here, at his screen, he controls everything. Around 3:30 p.m., he notices his concentration beginning to slip. He makes a flat white coffee, walks to the window, and looks out at the street for 2 full minutes without thinking about work. A deliberate pause. When he sits back down, his focus has returned. By 5:15 p.m., he has finished the designs, sent the invoice, and replied to every email in his inbox. He tidies his desk. He cannot stand leaving it messy overnight, shuts his laptop, and stands up. He rolls down his sleeves, puts on his jacket, and says goodbye to his colleagues. "Good work today?" says Maria. "You too," he says, and means it. On the subway home, Alex switches to a different kind of listening. He has been working his way through an English audio drama, a series of short radio plays, and tonight's episode is the second part of a mystery set on a remote Scottish island. He is not sure who the culprit is yet, and he has theories. He listens carefully, noting new words and expressions in a small notebook he carries for exactly this purpose. At home, he changes into a worn gray sweatshirt and loose trousers, his evening uniform, and opens the windows. The evening air is cooler now, and it smells of rain. He turns on the lights in the kitchen and begins to cook. Tonight, he makes a slow-cooked chicken stew. He browns the chicken pieces in a wide pan, then sets them aside. In the same pan, he softens chopped onion, garlic, and carrot until they are translucent and fragrant. He adds chicken stock, a handful of fresh thyme, 2 bay leaves, and a generous spoonful of paprika. He returns the chicken to the pot, puts the lid on, and lowers the heat to a gentle simmer. The kitchen fills with a smell so rich and warm that Alex closes his eyes for a moment and feels very genuinely happy. While the stew cooks, he sits at the kitchen table with his English notebook. He reviews the words he noted on the subway, writes each one in a full sentence, and then reads the sentences aloud quietly so the neighbors cannot hear, but clearly enough that he can hear himself pronounce each syllable. Speaking out loud is something many learners skip, he knows, but it is the only way to make words feel real in the mouth. After dinner, the stew is even better than he hoped. Alex spends 30 minutes on his English reading. He is currently working through a contemporary novel set in London, written in clear, vivid prose that he finds both readable and educational. He reads with a pencil in hand, underlining phrases that strike him as particularly beautiful or unusual. At 9:30 p.m., he closes the novel and opens his journal. He writes 3 sentences in English, no more, no less. Today I learned that bite the bullet comes from the practice of soldiers biting a bullet during surgery before anesthesia existed. I felt focused and productive at work. I am grateful for the stew. Small thoughts, but honest ones. He closes the journal. He brushes his teeth, washes his face, and pulls the curtains closed. He sets his alarm for 6:30. He lies down, and almost immediately the sounds of the city begin to recede, the traffic, the distant voices, the hum of the world. Within minutes, Alex is asleep. Tomorrow the alarm will ring, soft and insistent, and the whole beautiful, ordinary day will begin again.